Hi everyone, Dmitry from ElectroNeek is here. Today I'm going to talk about Orchestration 2.0 or connecting SaaS to RPA. It will be about featuring the things that no one except the ElectroNeek Product team seen so far. So some of them are not in release yet. I'm going to talk about orchestrators overall. And the reason I actually decided to invite you today is I like to start with why. I want to explain certain things, why we do them before we release them. So feel free to feel yourself like in a front row in a relatively exclusive preview of the things that we think would be very important for the industry. So let's get started. We're going to talk today about orchestration, like basics of that for those of you who don't have any experience implementing for yourself, for your clients in Orchestrator. We're going to talk about SaaS automation tools. Again, for those of you who don't have experience with tools like Zapier or Tray or Parabola. Then we're going to talk how are these two areas different, how markets perceive them, why there is a kind of a wall historically existing between two, and how to break the wall. And we're going to talk about how we're going to break the wall in the next few months during the rest of the presentation. So let's get started. We'll relatively keep it short and want to allow more time for Q&A. So RPA Orchestration 101, it's a good question. If you ask 10 people what is RPA Orchestrator, typically what you would hear would be it's an admin tool for your RPA bots or RPA ecosystem. So word administering or management will come there pretty often. So for IT departments, typically it's admin tool. For business users, their understanding typically is around that's a boss of robots, someone who connects, commands, and pretty much orchestrates the whole ecosystem. That's why it's called Orchestrator. While these definitions are technically close to reality, in fact, RPA Orchestrator is about increasing capabilities of bots in a very broad sense. Some vendors would call it automation hub, we call it orchestrator, but essentially that's a place where because of the connectivity, because of the access to the bots, you increase what bots are capable of. So it drills down to connectivity, to management, and to maintenance, which can be combined with management. So what is SaaS automation? SaaS automation is different from RPA with two major angles. First, it connects SaaS tools with each other and to make them talking directly without your IT infrastructure involved. So if you have Evercato for marketing and HubSpot for CRM, you can connect them together, not only using their native API integrations, but many tools are not connected. So there are tools who fill in the gap and essentially allow you to orchestrate many of your SaaS tools that don't exist in your IT infrastructure. They unlock a lot of synergies between SaaS tools and became quite popular in the last 5 years, I would even say 8 years. They all know code, sometimes completely no code, even without any low code capabilities tools, but they're very effective with regard to quicker development, and they're citizen automator or power user ready, because instead of creating a script or a workflow in RPA, here you really solve the kind of data bridging problems. You say, take customer name from one system, pull it to another one. You don't need to have any coding skill to do that. So typically the difference between SaaS automation and RPA will come in the length of the workflow. In SaaS automation, they're shorter. Ease of use, ease of development, ease of maintenance. But as we know with RPA, there are really no limits to what bots can do because they simulate human actions. With SaaS, it's limited with regard to infrastructure. It all happens in SaaS tools. So how market view that two worlds differently? If we look at market segments from SMB to enterprise, let's first talk about SaaS automation. The first users of SaaS automation tools were individual users and teams. And many of the companies that are pretty big in this market, they really have their major stronghold in teams of 10 or companies of 50 people. That's their major market. And that was historically. Now it's changing as more and more bigger companies are adopting SaaS tools, moving to cloud, feel more comfortable with their data being in different SaaS infrastructure. So they are, let's call it evolutionary reasons why SaaS automation is expanding from small companies to big companies, even to enterprise. There are numerous examples of biggest companies in the world freely connecting their SaaS tools, their best-in-class marketing, bookkeeping, analytics tools with their other SaaS, and to work essentially to make it working very effectively. And I know a fund, a venture fund, that has only 5 employees, and they, I think, have more than 200 workflows in SaaS for different reasons. For example, typical case, they are comparing their database of companies they funded to their current status on LinkedIn. Are these companies active? How many employees they have? Instead of hiring someone, they connect that via SaaS. They connect their emailing tools, prospecting tools, databases together. But it all should be in SaaS. At the same time, RPA stronghold was an enterprise. But the product innovation in our companies in the front run here moves that industry towards mid-market and even SMB companies. So in fact, there are many companies, and there will be even more, who are using SaaS automation and are using RPA at the same time. And we think that mid-market essentially will be overlapped with these 2 technology trends. One, greater SaaS adoption, one, greater RPA adoption. And together, SaaS integration or automation and RPA, they can do pretty much anything. We're going to talk about that a bit later. So for our company, from this view, it was not a brainer whether we should integrate with SaaS automation tools and connect the 2 worlds together. Let's talk a bit about our infrastructure before we dive into the details of how Orchestrator works now and how it's going to work in the near future. Just a reminder, our major infrastructure difference to other RPA vendors is that we unbundled or decoupled bot runners from the business model. We made them completely unbundled from what's built in the studio. So what's built in the studio, you can run using free agent. It comes to the point where essentially we have 2 products. Our major products in RPA would be the studio and Orchestrator. And Orchestrator is used to connect to the bots you created to essentially manage them. And for us, the major demanded feature for Orchestrator historically was scheduling and using webhooks to trigger certain workflows. So scheduling, maintenance, workflows, that's historically where we invested our IT resources, our product resources. But now we see that being very different. We had this vision that clients are going to build many small bots, because building 10 small bots and connecting them in one big is much more effective than building one big bot. We can discuss that, of course, but that's my experience, the experience of my colleagues and our company. Build many small bots, and these small bots need to be connected. So we started to look at Orchestrator very differently. We decided that for us, the core innovation focus of Orchestrator will go into connectivity. And we understand connectivity from 2 angles. Interconnectivity, that allows you to connect all your bots together to build really complex workflows. Complex at the same time, consistent of subatomic units of individual workflows, individual bots that are easier to maintain. You can keep a status on them, keep the logs of them. It brings more organization, more structure to the bot ecosystem. But then it comes to the point, okay, you have ecosystem of bots. Can you connect it to any other IT tool or data flow or data lake? Yes, that became the major focus for us. Why on connectivity? Again, we are in the business of building many small bots. We are in the business, you're likely in the business of building bots. We build a tool that lets you do that. It's quicker to develop when you have many small bots and all your connectors sit not on the bot level, but on the level of Orchestrator. So if you connect into Salesforce, for example, You do it not on the bot level, you do it on the level of Orchestrator. Less connectors are easier to maintain, so it's quicker deployment and better maintenance. Greater maintenance comes to greater stability because you need to maintain less connectors. You typically will have less errors as well. So we decided to take all the connectivity from the bot level, bring it to the Orchestrator, and that's our vision. That's pretty much what we already have using webhooks and REST API. So here it is. But where the really revolutionary changes are coming from is, I want to announce our feature integration with Zapier. So we're in the final stages of rolling out to the market. Why Zapier? Zapier is a market leader in SaaS automation. They powering, I think, more than 50 million users globally. They have 2,000 apps on board. They have millions of already existing presets. They're essentially a market leader, and we have the same investor as well. So we decided that that's the tool that made the most progress coming from SMB segment to enterprise. Zapier works with companies like Fox News, for example. So they're trusted by enterprise. And by bridging together RPA and Zapier, we can really unlock these synergies, not only in mid-market, but also expand our presence to SMB and expand Zapier presence to enterprise. Let's take a look at the cases. So again, Zapier is an ecosystem of connected tools you use. It's very easy to move the data between them, but there are many jobs to be done that require you one of two things: extending your data flows to desktop or browser, some no API systems, and when you need to deal with custom logic that only humans typically can replicate, you wouldn't be able to do that inside any of the SaaS tools to set up a standard automation or inside SaaS automation tool. Because while they are flexible, as I mentioned before, they solve the problems like taking data from A to B. And if you need to create a custom logic, for example, go through all leads in Salesforce and find those who match certain criteria that cannot be applied using any standard filters. Take these deals, move them to a separate stage in new funnel, notify these people, create these tests and project management systems and so on. For example, to manage clients who have extended pay cycle or something like that. So custom logic and IT boundary and SaaS boundaries, that's what essentially limits the number of cases you can automate with SaaS automation. But with RPA, with ElectroNeek, that number of cases expands dramatically. So let me talk through a few of them. DocuSign, for example, many RPA tools have an ability to hook through API to DocuSign, but they're usually 3-4 commands like check the signature, put a signature, move some data here and there, really like 3-4 steps you can do. Zapier, there may be hundreds of ways you can pull the data to Zapier, to DocuSign from DocuSign. With RPA, you can connect it to your actually digital document storage to make sure they all uploaded. Those that don't have signatures are sent to clients, notifications are set, tasks for managers are created. You have a tracker where you can keep the status of your documents, their signature status, set up a custom logic for reminders, bring it to manager attention when it's needed. And it's only DocuSign. Google Analytics. There's so many things that people do based on certain trends that they can notice in Google Analytics. Does someone meet the targets for website visitors? How effective is your paid marketing? For example, you can set up an automatic trigger that will ring the bell if people spend in less than 20 seconds on your website and you pay for them more than $2 a visitor. In area of digital marketing, it's pretty surprising how much time marketers spend manually analyzing data from Google Analytics to make decisions that could be automated. Salesforce, as any other CRM, a lot of custom logic tasks create the situations where managers spend certain time going through every single entry, a deal or lead, to sort them out in different buckets and then to apply certain actions typically managerial decisions with regard to different cohorts of deals or managers. Again, many RPA tools connected to Salesforce, and you can do certain actions there. But Zapier, again, was there for many, many years. So you can easily kind of connect things to Salesforce and from Salesforce, and then use RPA tool to create a very custom logic of what you're going to do with this data and when, and essentially bridge the ease of use of Salesforce automation with drag and drop with this custom logic that RPA provides. Shopify or any other e-commerce tool. Supply chain. Of course, there are certain integrations between Shopify and other progressive supply chain tools, but most companies use supply chain tools that, if actually they use, are outdated. Could be legacy systems, could be really manual communication with supplier if you, for example, selling craft goods. So there are many use cases for what could you automatically trigger in your supply chain based on certain actions on Shopify, for example, a purchase. And the last one I'm going to talk is accounting software, QuickBooks or Sage or other tools. Connecting them to point of sale or to a tax system is possible in SaaS world, again, between relatively rigid, limited number of tools. At the same time, software used to file taxes, point of sale software, with a variety of tools available there, 90% of integrations are left behind SaaS world. You need to step out of SaaS to really make the best of your accounting software. Communications. All these tools I talked about may require automatic communications in order to remove repetitive labor that managers do based on certain things that happen in these SaaS tools. Communications to customers, suppliers, internal stakeholders, external stakeholders, contractors, all could be automated and pretty much customized in the way that business wants. Reporting from all SaaS tools. In SaaS, again, you're limited to the SaaS infrastructure. So most of the reporting cases for SaaS automation would be pulling the data to Google Sheets. Many companies don't do their planning in Google Sheets. They do reporting in a variety of complex ways, and they do it on a branch level, on central level. They merge the data, they transform the data. All this could be done combining RPA and SaaS automation, because SaaS automation will give you access to unlimited, to pretty much the universe of data sources. RPA will pretty much program the logic of building these reports, their distribution, their feedbacks, and so on. And multi-channel analytics. That's a really specific case, but you can now connect all the data related to marketing and sales, really all the data from any system, including your payroll and HR systems, when you want to understand your cost of sale or how sales bonuses impact your margin. RPA and SaaS automation can fully solve this problem depending on what the goals clients have, what they want to understand. But building any dashboard with multi-channel analytics is not a brainer using a combination of RPA and SaaS tools. So that's where we go to. So let's pretty much wrap it up. What Orchestrator benefits for clients is extending the capabilities of bots through connectivity. It's easy of management and maintenance. For ElectroNeek specifically, that means more cases for clients, more cases for integrators, quicker development, quicker deployment, greater stability. It comes at the end of the day to increased ROI in RPA investments. So we naturally see all the companies that start RPA journey at a certain moment transition into Orchestrator model. Unless they decided to start RPA journey only because of one specific case that is very painful for them and not to expand, which I think is very rare, maybe 15-20% of all RPA stories. Then at a certain moment, Orchestrator will really increase their investment in this tool, in this technology. But let's look at that through the angle of consultants or system integrators, those who build bots for others. And I think it's an important thing to know that clients don't see the bots working typically. They know the gains, they know the result, they see the time savings. But Orchestrator is pretty much the thing that allows you to visualize all your work to client executives in IT or in business. So having an orchestrator that shows the status of the bots, maybe shows how your orchestrator is connected to a bigger orchestrator ecosystem that your company runs for multiple clients. Having your company logo name in Orchestrator, sorry, your company name in Orchestrator, like managed by, if you set it up for a client, is important. It comes to visibility, you should think about that. Also, because of interconnectivity, having an orchestrator allows you to expand use cases to other departments. You can essentially find synergies between different departments, and Orchestrator is the best thing to do that. Typically, you would see, okay, now my bot finishes work by sending certain data to another department. What actually happens to the data in another department is something that could be automated there as well. And Orchestrator is a great way to connect all these bots together. So in the end of the day, build many small bots, connect them to Orchestrator. And the final word, so how to start. If you already have Orchestrator, stay tuned for product updates. They're coming in the next X days. I hope that in January we will be fully set. If you don't have Orchestrator, if you buy it in December, we will give you either a free studio, or if you're an integrator and not buying for yourself, we can give you 50% cashback. That's only in December. If you feel not convinced, you want to see that in action, you want to see integration with Zapier in action, go ahead and book a demo for January. We would be happy to show you the tool, how it works. So that's pretty much it. Thank you for tuning in. I really want to open that for questions. So I'm going to the chat and the Q&A. Okay, there is only highs. Great to see you all. So any questions related to ElectroNeek Orchestrator, Zapier integration, interconnectivity, our vision, timelines, sales? Okay, let me give participants a minute. What if we have a SaaS solution, how we can connect with your solution? So REST API through Orchestrator, that's how they're going to talk to each other, pretty much. If you have API, the SaaS tool, great. Second story, if your SaaS solution is already in Zapier ecosystem, then you don't need to connect that directly, you can connect through Zapier, and that's probably the preferred way to do in the future, because you will be able to leverage Zapier in this case to connect multiple SaaS tools to Orchestrator. How is the performance with increasing load? The Orchestrator is not, so that depends on how you use Orchestrator. We don't know many cases when the data flow is that big. Typically, in many cases, Orchestrators used for triggering. So the data volume going to Orchestrator is relatively low. The other question is, now you have all these bots connected up and running. Of course, all of them will create certain load, but these bots are likely distributed. So they are on different machines. And in this case, you pretty much will be able to manage that. As we say, the beauty of attended automation is that you probably don't need to invest in any IT infrastructure. But if you have bots in unattended fashion, work through Orchestrator, they already have the power allocated to them on the server. So Zapier will be included in Orchestrator. So no, Zapier is a separate tool, but it's very low cost tool. It's very efficient. So I know many companies who use Zapier, their checks rarely exceed a few hundred a month. What type of bots we can create? And if we integrate with our SaaS solutions, how do we license? So let's clarify, Vishal, sorry, what is your SaaS solution? Does it mean it's your own product that you want to integrate with ElectroNeek and sell as a combo to the client, for example? Or you mean that, for example, you as a client or your client has a SaaS tool that they want to, okay, yes. So you have own SaaS tool. How do you license that? So you can essentially, we as the vendor don't charge clients for using bots. That probably you already know. So if you deliver a project to clients using your own studios, there's complete flexibility in how you charge clients for the RPA functionality. If clients don't need a studio, you pretty much can charge them anything, even zero. That's what we encourage people to do. But let's say you want to sell a combo of RPA and your own SaaS tool, and you want them to be connected to work effectively. In this case, clients would need to have their own orchestrator or orchestrator run by you for them. So once you do it, there is a license cost to orchestrator, but we want our orchestrator to be very affordable compared to other orchestrators. So if you know, our studio is typically more expensive than other tools to start building bots, but it provides unlimited bots as a trade-off. But for orchestrator, we're super efficient. So pretty much you bundle that with your own SaaS tool, create custom pricing. What we as a RPA vendor care about is how our own orchestrator works in that combo. And that will be essentially our own financial relationships with you. And then whatever you sell to client as a combo is your financial relationship with the client. I hope that helps to answer the question. But essentially now, we actually haven't put that much thought in that. And that's a good question, actually. What kind of reselling opportunities it could create for companies that bundle their SaaS tool with our orchestrator? We, by the way, provide incentives for reselling all the time. So in December, it's much bigger discount, but in general, that's what we want partners to be focused on, resell and orchestrators, because they really make your clients happier and drive our revenue as well. And there was a question on type of bots, attended, unattended, whatever you want. But I guess for most of their SaaS integration cases, an attended bot will be a better option. What kind of support is available from ElectroNeek, and do you already have connectors with major platforms, say? Okay. So we decided to, historically, the number of connectors we had was focused on Microsoft products and the most of the attended cases. With Zapier integration, we don't need to build a lot of these integrations because Zapier brings all these connectors together. And it's really cool tool to use in terms of like setting them up and very easy to maintain. So we essentially decided that Zapier is the best in connecting. We are the best in building custom workflows. So let's just, every partner and player has a core competency in something. Okay, so I think we came to the top of the 30 minutes. Appreciate your time. Let's stay connected. For me personally, that's a big thing that comes in January. Please stay tuned, and we will go in to send you this deck and the recording of the webinar shortly. So let me check if I answered all the questions. Oh, sorry, if you came. Should partners use Orchestrator to manage client bots, or do they need to have it independently? So someone need to have an orchestrator, and we approach multi-tenancy a bit differently. So team, let's discuss that. So typically we encourage clients to have an orchestrator, but some clients don't want, and they really want the partner, the integrator, to run all this ecosystem, all this infrastructure. And in this case, it makes sense for you to own the orchestrator and to bill the client for doing that. But ownership will be on you. What kind of support is available? So we have many different tiers of support. We have the care service that helps actually to build bots. It's one of the unique offerings on the market. I think we have currently support in 3 time zones. And it's pretty much India, it's Europe, and Eastern time zone in the States. So that depends on what kind of engagement you're looking for with us. Because for enterprise clients, we even provide professional services. But that's a different story for mid-market and SMB. Okay, so questions stopped coming. Have a great day, and let's all build a lot of bots.